Yo, yo, yo. What is up, Facebook world? We will wait just a few minutes to let people hopefully join and watch. Hopefully, everyone's having a great weekend so far. Just like the title says, tonight we'll be talking about the importance of proper liability protection. I know, it sounds kind of boring, but this will be super fast, quick. I will be done before number one Sunday Night Football comes on. That's obviously the most important, and I'm sure some of you will probably be watching the debate as well. Overrated, but you know. Mr. Brian, what's up, my man? Ooh, we got some peeps joining. Miss Jamie, Mrs. Chris. How are you all this tonight? Hopefully you guys had a great weekend. And of course, my beautiful wife. Alright, so we've almost got 15 people watching, so let's go ahead and get this bad boy going. So, obviously, name's Michael Weaver, State Farm Insurance agent. So tonight we'll be talking about proper liability protection, limits, things of that nature. So we're going to start off with talking about auto insurance liability limits, homeowners liability limits, talking about things such as personal liability umbrellas policies, and also going into a little bit of the commercial side because I know some of you do own your own business or have approached me about owning your own business one day. So tonight I'll be talking about business insurance liability and also commercial liability umbrella policies. So if any of you have questions before I get started, please, please, please let me know. I love interaction. I love answering questions on the spot. So without further ado, let's get this bad boy going. So, and I see some of you joining. What's up, Kyle, Andrew, Mr. Cayley? Thank you, Courtney. Yeah, I know I get a lot of feedback from friends, old friends on my hair, and a lot of them like to give me crap. So you all can thank my beautiful wife for my hair. Like they say, happy wife, happy life. So tonight we will be let's go ahead and start off auto liability limits. So this one's an easy one. Auto liability limits, the minimum liability, personal liability I like to see. So you're talking bodily injury limits and property damage protection. I like to see a minimum of 100,000, 300,000 limits. So what that means is if you got into an accident, you hit someone, you're going to be protected up to $100,000 per person, up to a total of $300,000 if multiple people were injured. The importance of that's about 4 times the amount of what the state of Missouri makes you carry. I like to see people carry a little bit more than the 100, 300, but at a minimum, I like the 100, 300. What I like to see people carry are limits of 250,000, 500,000. So, same scenario, you got into an accident, you hit someone, you're going to be covered up to $250,000 per person, up to a total of $500,000. Now, I know some of you are probably wondering, well, Michael, that seems like a lot of coverage, or Michael, why are liability limits important anyways? Well, liability is important because accidents are accidents for a reason. If you ever hit someone, or let's say someone gets hurt on your property and tries to sue you, they're all accidents. Mr. Bill, hello. Mom, hello. But let's say someone sues you. Well, in the state of Missouri, people can garnish your wages. They can come after assets. They can make you put second mortgages on the house. So carrying proper liability limits is very important because it's important to protect yourself. You don't work every day. I don't work every day to pay someone else's bills. You work every day to pay your own bills. So that's why it's very important to carry proper liability insurance. I never want to overinsure anyone, but I also don't want to ever underinsure anyone. I would much rather overinsure than underinsure. That's just my personal belief, and that's what I tell everyone, all of my customers, friends, family. Um, so auto liability limits. So that's what's going to cover if you hit someone or something. Property damage, 100,000 I like as a minimum. So at a minimum, if you're taking notes, you should have 100,000, 300,000, 100,000. What I like to see people carry is 250,000, 500,000, 100,000. So that's for the auto liability portion. Home liability. So now we're talking about homeowners insurance. So if someone were to get hurt on your property or in your house and try to sue you, that's when the homeowner's liability is going to basically take place. Or so if someone sues, let's say a little kid's riding their bike in front of your house, falls down in the front yard, breaks his arm, collarbone, and hurts his neck. And let's say the medical bills are $500,000. Well, who do you think the mom and dad are going to come after? You think they're going to try to let their health insurance pay it, or do you think they're going to come after your insurance policy? They're going to come after your insurance policy. So on homeowners, I actually like to see a minimum of $1 million in liability protection here. I've been in the business now for 6 years, had some crazy things happen. I've had people that own hunting land down south, 200 miles away. Someone's trespassing, gets hurt, sues the landowner, and wins. That payout was around $850,000. It's just crazy. I mean, so again, liability and insurance is there to protect you. That's why I like the million in coverage. It's very cost effective through your homeowner's insurance policy. To up your limit from 500,000 to $1 million in coverage is literally $20 a year. So very inexpensive way to make sure you're covered. Now let's talk about personal liability umbrella policies. So my lingo is that's what we call a PLUP, but a personal liability umbrella policy, also known as an umbrella, which some of you may have also heard that as well if you have it. What an umbrella covers is it covers all of your liability personally. So it's going to give you an additional $1 million or above in protection on your auto liability limits, your homeowner's liability limits. If you own boats, four-wheelers, whatever it may be, anything that you could hit someone and hurt them, or someone could get on and hurt on your property, a personal liability umbrella policy comes with an additional minimum of $1 million in coverage and goes all the way up to an additional $10 million, depending on what you think best fits your needs, and is the most cost-effective approach for you. But at a minimum, an umbrella is an additional $1 million worth of coverage. That's what I see most people get. Sometimes they'll up it to $2 or $3 million for very cost-effective. I mean, it's a couple $100 more for an additional $1 million, so not bad. I recommend everyone have an umbrella policy. It's the easiest way to protect yourself if the worst case scenario happens. So worst case scenario, you hit someone, let's say you hit someone and kill them. You are going to want as much protection as possible because their family's going to come after you. So umbrellas are just another cost-effective way to get a large amount of protection in place for a very little amount of money. So that's really it from a personal standpoint. So auto coverage, you want your minimum 100, 300 limits, 100,000, 300,000. I actually like and prefer my customers to have 250,000, 500,000, and that again is if you hit someone, hurt them, and put them in the hospital, you're going to be covered up to 250,000 per person, up to a total of $500,000. Property damage, I recommend a minimum of 100,000. So that covers anything in the accident that you are responsible for besides the people that you injure. So guardrails, fences, stop signs, other vehicles. Okay. Homeowners liability, minimum of $1 million. I highly recommend that just because it's so inexpensive to increase your limits to $1 million. Literally $20 a year more can increase it by $500,000 or more. And $500,000 when it comes down to a lawsuit is a lot of money for $20 a year. That's why I like that, and I recommend a minimum of $1 million in coverage. Lastly, from a personal standpoint, you've got your umbrella policy, your personal liability umbrella policy. That's an additional $1 million in coverage So if you draw an umbrella, so draw an umbrella on a piece of paper and you put all of your assets under it. So you put your house, you put your cars, you put your 401k, you put your IRA, you put your checking account, your emergency savings. All of that is going to be protected by the $1 million umbrella policy. So if something ever happens, someone gets hurt on your property, they sue you, they're going to have to go through your homeowner's liability first, which is $1 million in this scenario, plus your umbrella policy of $1 million. So they would have to go through $2 million worth of coverage before they get to your assets. That's why I like that. It's a very cost-effective way to protect yourself. Um, if anyone has any questions while I'm going through this, please don't hesitate. Thank you all for joining in. I see Matt Beckman, Kyle, Miss Martha, Jake. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, please let me know. Mr. Gavin Long. So now I'll go to a little bit of the commercial side, because I know some of you own your own businesses or have thought about owning your own business. So from a commercial side, obviously you got to get business insurance. So business insurance, I always recommend a minimum of $1 million in protection from a liability standpoint. I actually like $2 million. Again, it's literally usually like $40 a year to increase it from $1 million to $2 million. So very inexpensive way to protect yourself. So at a minimum, I like $1 million. At a max, or not a max, but I do like to see business owners carry $2 million in insurance and above through their business policy. A lot of rental property owners. Okay, so I have a lot of customers or friends that own rental properties. On rental property policies, I recommend carrying a minimum of $1 million in coverage, plus having what's called a commercial liability umbrellas policy. So every rental property owner, every business owner should have what's called a commercial liability umbrella policy. Very similar to a personal liability umbrella policy. So your umbrella, only it covers you from a commercial standpoint, so your business. So a commercial liability umbrella policy is going to cover your business. So anyone that owns rental properties, owns a business, I highly recommend you having an umbrella policy for the business, because not only then do they have to get through your $2 million through your business policy, but then they have to get through an additional $1 million or $2 million, $3 million, $4 million through the umbrella policy as well. It's a very inexpensive way to protect yourself from a business standpoint. When I don't know, just in the 6 years that I've been doing this, it seems like if a business owner ever gets into an accident or someone gets hurt on their property or in their store, people are much more likely to sue someone because they own a business than they are just for someone that they get hurt in somebody's house. I really don't know why that is, but it's just what I've kind of experienced. Touched on the legality of liability waivers for visitors on residential properties for activities like riding ATVs, etc. Do they hold up? I would tell you, Kaylee, that that would definitely be a better question for probably a lawyer, which I actually see that we have one watching currently. But in my experience, liability waivers, a lot of times lawyers can get past those, and a lot of times it will fall back on the homeowners or the owner of the property's homeowner's policy. And the only reason I know that is because a lot of times you'll have liability waivers for like riding horses, things of that nature. But in my experience, a lot of times those don't hold up. Now, luckily, I've only ever witnessed one lawsuit, and the liability waiver didn't hold up. But I'm definitely not an expert on that. That would definitely be a better question for a lawyer, but in my opinion, it's going to fall back on the homeowner a lot of times. Great question. Great question. So does anyone have any questions? I don't want to hold you up from watching that debate tonight. I'm sure it's going to be great. Me personally will be watching some Sunday Night Football. So any questions at all? I wanted to keep tonight very simple, very quick. But I do want to reiterate the importance of proper liability limits. A lot of times I hear, well, Michael, if I don't carry the liability limits, then I can't be sued for that amount of money. Well, that's not necessarily true. Everyone works and your wages can be garnished. So my opinion on that is, would you rather State Farm or whatever your insurance company to be responsible for the payment, or would you rather your wages be garnished? Me personally, I'd rather the insurance company be responsible for it. That's why I carry insurance. If your rental property is titled in your personal name, do you need a pub? That's a great question, Amanda. I would tell you, so with State Farm, we can actually cover a certain amount of rental properties up to underneath the personal liability umbrella policy. So I would tell you, if it's in your personal name, you could have either a personal liability umbrella policy or a commercial liability umbrella policy. Now, once you reach a certain amount of rental properties, whether it's in your name or your business name, you have to carry a commercial liability umbrella policy. But that probably differentiates between insurance providers. But as far as State Farm's concerned, we can do either or. So, great question. On a scale from 1 to 10, yes, Courtney, so Game of Thrones. I've since we splurged and got we got Comcast or Xfinity, whatever you want to call it. It's the first time we've had TV in 4 years, I think. I've fallen in love with Game of Thrones. I'm almost done with the entire 6 seasons, so it's been crazy, but Game of Thrones is pretty awesome. If you've never watched it, I highly recommend checking it out. You will not be disappointed. Can a personal umbrella policy be used in a business lawsuit? It's a great question. And so a business lawsuit, they're going to come after your business, so you would want a commercial liability umbrella policy. And so that would be my answer. Hopefully that answers your question. You would want a commercial liability umbrella policy if it's a business lawsuit instead of a personal liability umbrella policy. Again, same thing. One is just for your personal belongings. One is for your commercial. Now, in a lawsuit, again, that's a great question for a lawyer. But any lawsuit, if you're not incorporated properly or have your proper designation, so LLC, sole proprietorship, C corp, things of that, S corp, that's all going to fall back on those, on the way you have your business set up as well. But from an umbrella standpoint, you're going to want a commercial liability umbrella policy. Some good questions tonight. Thank you, Mom. Any other questions? We've got some good ones so far. Those were great questions. And of course, you guys know I'm repping the State Farm shirt, so. But I do this purely out of just informing, educating. I want all of you, all of my friends, because that's what most of you are on Facebook, are my friends that I know. I want you all to be protected as best as you can. Even if you're not with State Farm, call your insurance agent. Go review your coverages. I highly recommend that. If you haven't sat down with your agent in a while, I highly recommend that as well. I try to meet with every customer every 1 to 2 years to review things like this. Review their liability limits, make sure they're still proper, make sure their financial situation hasn't changed, because the older you get, the more you work, the more assets you're going to accumulate. The more assets you accumulate, you may need more liability insurance. So it's very important. So even if you're not with State Farm, you're not with myself, call your current agent, ask if you can schedule time to come in and review your policies. I'm sure they would love to meet with you. Yes, I did see Mr. Tom Hegna just join the live feed. So, Mr. Tom, hopefully all is well. All right, any other questions, my peeps? Around anything. It doesn't even have to be about liability insurance. It can be around anything. I know that insurance is kind of insurance can be boring, so I don't want to bore you all. That's why I wanted to keep it quick. I've been on for 20 minutes now. That's probably long enough. So If none of you have questions, I hope you all had a fabulous weekend. I hope you have an even better week. I think the weather is supposed to be amazing. I think fall is finally here, which is nice. Everyone loves some fall weather. So, with that being said, thank you all for joining. Thank you for your questions. I appreciate it. I appreciate your support. Any questions you guys have, of course, always feel free to message me via Facebook. I get messages all the time, and I will definitely answer them and get back with you. So, thank you all. Have a wonderful evening and a wonderful week. See ya.